Next to Stan, we're the
Yeah.
neighborhood, I think, and we had all of our neighbors taking care of us, which was just really nice. Even Stan called to take care of us. So we were covered from everything.
Yeah, I also had a
There it
very
is.
pleasant visit with David and Barbara Gamble and their daughter. They're very nice. And but David had a big, of course, you know, he's a big rancher. he deals in cows and cow manure, I think. But anyhow, he came over in his big old farm truck, picked me up. And, you know, I live right by the 2222 hill where there are about 12 cars just stranded on that hill. But his big old pickup made it without any problem. He went real slow and up and down the hill without a problem.
Well, since we've now had 2 cow stories, I think it's time to start the meeting.
But I love that he deals in cow and cow manure. I mean, it's like you can't have one without the other, right?
Right.
That's a great.
The discussion will continue at next week's coffee hour and virtual cocktail hour. I don't know how many of you can see our distinguished past president, Tom McHorse, on your screen, but I understand has on his festive hat.
Oh, yeah.
Looking for him.
Don't see him.
Consistency, it's been growing since last annual meeting.
Right.
Well, welcome,
Oh, there he
welcome
is.
everyone to the annual meeting of Capital City Village. As most of you who are active members know, our mission is to stay where you live well where you stay. And thinking about today, I was reminded of a past quote from John F. Kennedy back in February 1963, where he said, "It's not enough for a great nation merely to have added a new year of life. Our objective must also be to add new life to those years." That's what Capital City Village is about, adding new life to those years. As we look back at the last 12 months, it's hard to believe that we were last met in person at our annual meeting on February 24th of 2020. I think that was last year, but it's kind of mixed in my mind of what year this is. Since then, as you know, Capital City Village made a major shift to virtual programming.
Closed
In a few minutes, Tommy's going to go through some of the highlights of the past year. This year is another challenging year. Right now, we're continuing Zoom programs and events until we're comfortable in returning to face-to-face meetings. We're striving to meet our financial goals through membership and sponsorship growth. We continue to improve communications with our members by refining the newsletter, website, and social media. We check on each of our fellow members through buddy calls, and we tell the CCV story to organizations and leaders of the greater Boston community. This year, we're celebrating our 10th year at the annual Keeping Aging Weird event in November. An exciting program is being planned by the committee headed by Sally Van Sickle. Thanks again, Sally, for agreeing to chair that effort, or having your arm twisted, whichever it was. Shortly, Tommy Ferguson, our dedicated executive director, will review 2020 and the results of our membership survey. She'll be joined by our excellent staff of Bonnie and Joanna. And I'll briefly review the 2021 goals of the strategic plan developed by your board of directors. And you'll hear some entertainment from the Austin Classical Guitar Society. And then we will honor our volunteer of the year. Before Tommy provides the highlights of 2020, I'd like to recognize the leaders of our organization that year. In normal times, I'd ask our board and committee chairs to stand, but since we're on Zoom, I asked them each to wave, stand on their head, whatever, to get attention. But anyhow, we'd like you all to recognize what a great job they did leading us last year in a very challenging year.
Here, here.
Great.
Thank you, Stan, for your applause. Over the last 2 years, CCV has been blessed to be led by a tireless volunteer as its president. Dr. Tom McHorse has been an outstanding leader while still finding time to be a trusted volunteer, assisting our members, and as medical director of the Volunteer Healthcare Clinic. Dr. Tom McHorse deserves our special thanks for all that he has done and continues to do as a leader of CCV. Tom, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Here, here, here.
Now my pleasure to welcome Tommy and her staff team to provide the State of the Village, a review of 2020. Take it away, Tommy.
I really appreciate that. Thank you for the intro. And I will attempt to share my screen now and kind of run you through some of the highlights. I'm going to make sure that I also leave time for Bonnie Gilson and Johanna Mandel to give some other information from the staff perspective. So I'll go ahead and try the share screen right now. And please bear with me as we get this loaded. All right. So
Slideshow.
you can all see it here, but let me see if I can expand this.
Slideshow.
All right.
Slideshow at the top.
Click on slideshow.
All right. Hold on.
No. There. Now, click on slideshow at the top. Just under the red banner where it says slideshow. There you go.
There we go. All right, thanks. We have worked through a great many technical difficulties this year, so thank you very much for your patience. Again, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. This is more interesting and I think social than more than business meeting, but there are some bits of information that I want to make sure that we have a chance to cover. So I'm going to run through a few things and again give staff each some time to check in with you on different fronts. And looks like we've got some more folks coming in. So we had some really big plans at the beginning of 2020. So as Scott mentioned, at this time of year, we were having a big gathering over at TUMC. We were laying out some big ideas for all the interactions and plans that we had for 2020, including more outings and field trips, more celeb salons, new partnerships, including one that did come to fruition with a group SAVA, South Asian International Volunteer Association. And so we actually did some of what we had hoped to do at the very beginning of 2020, and just doing more of what we know how to do very well, which is some really purposeful, personal interactions. And this is just a couple of shots of some of the things that we really did enjoy in person in the last year or so. Now, of course, as we all know, 2020 threw us some curveballs, and but we were able to respond to those. We actually were able to pivot very, very quickly and bring all of our programs on Zoom very, very quickly once COVID hit. We sort of doubled down and increased the frequency of our newsletter. We made sure that everybody was getting friendly phone calls and that we had tech help and tech assistance ready to get people up and running on Zoom and trying to be there and be supportive for the people as much as possible. Although our volunteer service looked a little bit different in 2020 because of the COVID restrictions, it did not stop. We did not miss a beat. We made sure that our volunteers were trained and supplied with additional protective material and were really out and available for service. And as you can see, it was a very, very busy year for our volunteers, regardless of the restrictions on COVID. So, you know, it was definitely a year of challenges, and it wasn't just the one. It seemed like every time we turned a corner, there was something else that was hitting us, and some other challenge that was popping up. And, you know, it just kind of kept coming. And there are, you know, times when I think most of us felt a little defeated, a little deflated. And I'm really just incredibly thankful that we were resilient and that we were there for each other. Because, yeah, nobody would have expected a year where everything that you thought could happen did happen, and then some. So, you know, it has been a very weird year, and it does seem like, gosh, it was just a short time ago that we gathered together in person and enjoyed food together and smiles and hugs. And so 2020, yes, a very unique year. February, very long year, long month last year. March, April, on and on. So, you know, again, we had some big ideas up front, but I think by late March, the reality had hit that things were going to be kind of rough in 2020 and that we were going to need to do things a little differently. You know, we had a lot of expectations. You know, some of us were really, you know, planning on some big trips and some big interactions, and some of it just didn't happen. And so we, again, had to adjust our reality and our way of operating. Gosh, and just midway through the year, when we thought we'd seen the worst of it, here it comes, more and more challenges to deal with. But I'm happy to report that there were no UFO invasions, there was no asteroid that hit, and CCV, thankfully, was resilient. So, you know, I think if we were going to put a close on 2020, which we keep trying to do, and 2021 has its own set of challenges, I think we would say that this pretty much sums it up. But again, we were really resilient, and I think largely because we were there for each other. So rather than go into the nuts and bolts, I've got some help from staff that's going to go over sort of 2020 and the numbers and some of our volunteer highlights. But I just wanted to emphasize that when life gave us lemons, you know, this community, our village, found a way to make lemonade. We put together some really fantastic programs. We stayed connected to each other. We went virtual in any way that we possibly could. And again, found ways to reach out to each other, especially when we needed. And again, as I mentioned, 2021 presented its own set of challenges. And once again, we just repeatedly step up for each other. And I'm just so thrilled that we are a part of each other's lives and that the village is there for us. I would also like to note that, you know, we were able to finish 2020 in the black. You know, we did have some membership growth, even though it was somewhat restricted. You know, our outreach efforts were somewhat hemmed in by COVID. We still got new members and new services and new volunteers online. We got federal funding through the PPP grant. We got some local grant funding from the Better Business Bureau in the city of Austin. For the first time ever, we actually had bequests from some of our members who passed this last year. The families recognized what Capital City Village was able to do for their loved ones in the time that they were alive, and they wanted to recognize and honor that by giving bequests to Capital City Village so that we could endure and continue to provide that support for other seniors. Despite all of the challenges, we had successful fundraisers. We had an ungolf activity, which, you know, again, if we couldn't gather in person for real golf, we had ungolf, and our supporters came through for us yet again and wanted to show that they wanted to have this as a part of our community and to have that support stay in place, even though we couldn't be together in person.
Really?
The Keep Aging Weird luncheon was highly successful. We learned how to do something we couldn't ever have done before, which we did live streaming. We recorded all sorts of testimonials and had great music and entertainment. And it was really fun and people enjoyed it. And we actually did raise important money and funds to help us. So we did end the year in the black, which frankly, talking to other nonprofits is just, it's a real surprise and a real godsend. So I just wanted to thank you for everyone that pitched in this year. I was incredibly heartened and surprised at every turn at how much we were there for each other. I would also like to note that Scott's going to give some information about the board plans for this coming year, but there are a couple of things that I would like to remind you of. So coming up, Amplify Austin is this week, this coming week, this Thursday. We're going to have a special happy hour to kick it off. This is a great way to let friends and neighbors know about the good work that we do in the community. So please share information about Capital City Village, and please encourage your friends to support us. We will have, come heck or high water, we will have a golf tournament this year, and we're getting the date nailed down for that. And I think Mart and Sue Hoffman are going to have some more information about that later in the program. And then also we do have a date set for Keep Aging Weird, again, celebrating our 10th year. And the wonderful woman, Libby Doggett, is going to be our keynote speaker. So just a few things to leave you with there. And I will now pull it over. And like I said, I'm going to give some chance for some of our other staff members to spotlight a little bit more detail about what's happened with us over the last year. We welcome your feedback. I'm going to later in the program give some information about our membership survey and some of the responses that we got, but we really do welcome additional feedback from you, and we're going to make sure we have time for that at the end. So I believe, Bonnie, if you are able to share some information with us now, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Doke. Let me get this where I can see it. So I'm sharing some numbers with you. I know that sounds very exciting, but I think we have some really pretty cool numbers here. This is our annual impact report, which will be posted on our website, but I'm not going to read the whole thing to you because you will be able to read it. But I wanted to highlight some numbers, and I think what I found especially interesting is how these numbers are different from last year. As Tommy said, when on March 15th, we changed everything. And we didn't really know what to expect or what to hope for. But there were a lot of adaptations that were made. And there were a lot of changes in how we did things. And there are changes in the way that we spend our time. So as it turned out in 2020, our largest block of volunteer time was in committee service.
Bonnie, this is Gail. Does everybody else see? I just have a blank screen.
Yeah, me too. Just a
Me
white
too.
screen.
I have a blank screen too.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was trying to be fancy and I had it up, taking up the whole screen, and I was looking at something that looked really pretty.
Well,
But
sorry to interrupt you, but
no, thank you. I would hate for everybody to sit there the whole time and think, and I think you're looking at something. So, in fact, I'll make it bigger for you too, so that we can kind of talk about what I think what's interesting, as I said, are the changes that happened in 2020. And our biggest block of volunteer time was committee service. And there are good reasons for that. Well, one of the reasons is that more of our committee members actually reported their time. So there's that. But also, when we went into a totally online world, these things took a lot of planning. And there was loads and loads of time spent on meetings, committee meetings, planning, fundraiser planning. And you can see it reflected in the fact that 57% of our volunteer time was in committee service. You know, when we think about the difference from last year to this year, in regard to driving, I was really amazed when I put together the numbers. I mean, in 2019, we did over 750 drives. But even with all the difficulties this year, we still did 324 drives. And I just think that's really amazing. And, you know, thank you to those volunteers who put on your PPE and went out and took people to essential appointments. The help at home doubled in 2020. Thank you, Carl. And others. We've got some other great handy volunteers now as well. They're just not on this line. So, but the handiwork has doubled this year because members trusted our volunteers to come into their homes during these times. So they were out there and, you know, they were out there about twice a week doing home service. Village Connections, which as most of you know, I think is a special program we've had for several years that provides one-to-one contact between a volunteer and a member. It went on, and those Village Connections volunteers continued to serve about 10% of our members with one-to-one connections. Tech support. Let's talk about tech support. That went from once a month in 2019 to over once a week in 2020. I guess that's no big surprise to anybody. You know, there were over 68 hours spent helping people with tech issues, many of those issues dealing with being on meetings like this on Zoom. And it's the way that we were able to fight against isolation. And so many thanks to Rick and others who provided so much of that tech support. When we talk about our programs, you know, our programs really skyrocketed this year because we were able to make them available to so many people. So we had health programs, social programs, and educational programs. And we had 28 health programs that averaged about 16 people per event. We had 54 social programs, which were incredibly important. The coffees every week, the happy hours, the lunches and the parties that all happened online. And we had 54 of those, so at least one a week. And we had about 12 people average per event. Our educational programs, we had 39 of those, averaging about 13 people per event. So here's a number that Dr. McHorse has been asking me for a while, so I finally have it. The total number of people who participated in our events was 367. 98 of those were CCV members. So the majority of our members have been on at least one program. And the fact that we have 367 people who have participated means that it's not just a service for members, but it's a great outreach and recruitment tool. And of course, we have provider referral, which we are still doing. I wanted to have you take a quick look at our income and how it's different in 2020. And I'm going to make that a little smaller so you can see them both, because I think that's important. Because if you look at the difference in these two charts, you see that our income diversification changed. We more greatly diversified our funding sources, which is extremely important for a nonprofit. So even though membership fees stayed about the same, that's up here, that's the blue piece of pie. Down here, that's the purple piece of pie. Those are the membership fees. However, you can see here this great big orange thing. On the top one in 2019, that was fundraising, and we were heavily dependent on fundraising. Well, we still are, but not quite as much. You see the fundraising pie piece went to less than half, whereas over here, it was just slightly over half on the top. So we also added $36,000 in grants, which were minimal. That's the little purple piece in the top that were grants last year. And then, as Tommy mentioned, we had the legacy gifts. And so that's the orange piece of pie in the 2020 income. And so you can see from the difference in these two charts how our funding sources have been diversified. And for me, that's one of the big messages of what I had to say today. And I can absolutely give credit to Tommy and Tom Knutson and our board, and to the committees that plan the fundraisers for these changes. So the cool news is in 2020, our income did not go down, it went up. It was an 8% increase over 2019. And our expenses went down. So all I got to say is great work, guys. And that's my bit.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie. That was wonderful. Bonnie Gilson, our most senior staff person. She's been with the village for longer than any other staff person, and she's been great. Bonnie, thank you so much. That digs into the details and really shows in the numbers what a year we had, and that we really did persevere. Again, this is an incredibly resilient group. I'd also like to recognize Johanna Mendel for her work, and she is actually going to do a few things for us now. We have two things from Johanna. One, I'm going to share just because I've got the steering wheel currently. So I'm going to share a presentation that she put together, and then she is going to also honor our Volunteer of the Year. So please bear with us here just a moment, and I'll get that information pulled up. And again, thank you so much, everyone. So just to kind of give you a little bit of a heads up, we're going to do these two brief items now. We'll take a little bit of a break, so maybe a 5-minute break so that you can get a snack, get something to drink, and then we'll come back and we're going to do the results of the membership survey. We've got some board goals that Scott is going to go over. We're going to hear from Mart and Sue Hoffman, and then we're also going to give a chance for some feedback from all of you, because we want to hear about what feedback you have for us as an organization going forward. So I will go ahead and share a little bit of information right now. Let's see, let me get to the share screen. Thank you for your patience. And again, this is some material that Johanna put together. So thank you for doing that, Johanna. All right, so we kind of just anecdotally call this Village Vignettes. So just to let you know here, this is kind of where our membership stands right now. And this is current volunteer number. And then of course, the sharing of time and talents, priceless. And she's absolutely right there. Oh, I was jumped ahead and I'm sorry about that. Sorry, I did not mean to give it away, but I don't think it's a terrible surprise for anybody. I did want to play a brief audio file for you. So if I can get this started, I will. Here we go. Give me just a moment here.
Tommy, before you start,
Yes,
I'd like to introduce myself for
of course.
people that don't know me. Joanna Mandel. I've been with the village for almost 2 years now. Very blessed, very happy, and very just in amazement of our members and our volunteers. As many of you know, I call myself the care connector for the village. I connect members that have requests with our volunteers. And I am so pleased to be able to provide this to you. I asked a couple of friends to just give me some of their words in honor of our 2020 Volunteer of the Year.
All right, thank you, Joanna. Appreciate that. Let's hear from a couple of our members.
Tommy, you may want to put it on slideshow to see if that'll make your thing work better.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you'll have to, yeah.
Now you see it.
Got it. Thanks.
A delightful mistake. It was the week between Christmas and New Year's. As I was waiting for my volunteer ride to arrive, I realized that the class I usually attended had been canceled. I apologized for my situation and was ready to say goodbye. With a friendly smile, my volunteer asked me if there was somewhere else I'd like to go. I quickly said yes. For the past few weeks, I had been creating a shopping trip in my mind with 4 or 5 stops, ending with lunch. My wish came true. Capital City Village is truly a nonprofit with heart.
Have you advanced it?
Delightful mistake.
That's the same one. You want to go to the next page.
What's that?
I apologize for my
Go to the next slide.
Slide.
was ready to say goodbye.
Right.
I see. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Okay.
I'm really happy to be able to compliment this volunteer that is so careful and goes out of their way to really help us and never make us feel like we're not capable, because the volunteer knows that we are.
I stopped driving 6 years ago. It was my choice, but that didn't make it any easier when I had to request rides from volunteers. Rides to doctor's appointments, rides to meetings, rides to the grocery store. But the weekly rides I requested to my volunteer work were somehow different. I eagerly looked forward to seeing my volunteer driver, the same one that drove me each week. And I eagerly looked forward to working on the CCV organizing project that for over 6 months gave me a sense of purpose, achievement, and contribution. What made it even more enjoyable was interacting with the staff that was there. The discussions we had were stimulating and interesting, but it was the laughter that nurtured my spirit. Certainly all those rides I received from CCV helped me understand why this organization is so important to its members. But little did I know the extent to which a CCV volunteer would go to help a member. I had decided to treat myself to a non-traditional Christmas: seafood, seafood, and seafood. He told me that the best seafood was to be found at a place some distance away from where I lived. I asked if there was anything closer. He said, "I can get you your seafood from the place I recommended. I'll pick it up for you this afternoon and drop it off." And he did. He brought me my dinner, my Christmas dinner. He was my Santa that year. So why do I care about CCV and its members? Because they've shown me that they care about me. That's how CCV works.
That is wonderful. Joanna, thank you so much for putting that together. And I'm actually going to, and thank you for those folks that did contribute to that, the members and the volunteers that have worked with us in the last year, certainly, specifically, but really since CCV began, have just been really the most important part of why CCV does work. Joanna, I'm going to turn it back over to you for the Volunteer of the Year award, so I will leave it up to you.
Okay, you have the slide ready?
I believe I can pull it back up.
Well, everybody acts surprised. Rick is a joy. At any moment in time, I come up and know that he's willing to work to help others, and just a joyful spirit, helping hands wholeheartedly. He has contributed over 100 hours in just committee work and over 280 hours in direct service. A combination of driving, technical assistance, and some home fix-its. So he is a treasured part of my life, and I know of many others in the village.
Hey, congratulations.
Let's clap.
Thank you very much. You know, I'm just glad that I've got some kind of experience and talent that can help people. This is a very nice award. Bonnie, I understand, picked this out, and she knows I love glass. So it'll go on a shelf where it'll be easily seen for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. All right, thank you so much, Rick. You have really done, just gone above and beyond this last year, and I just so appreciate everything that you've done for us. We do want to recognize our Volunteer of the Year each year, because although all of our volunteers do so much for us, it really is, it does seem every year there is a standout, and Rick, hands down, you were it this year.
And he was.
Yeah.
I second that.
All right, folks, if you will stay with us, we are going to take just a brief break. I'm going to play some music from Austin Classical Guitar for about 3 to 5 minutes, so you can get a snack, get something to drink, come back here and join us. And do be sure to come back and join us, because we're going to go over results from our membership survey. Scott Blunt, our board president, is going to go over board goals for this coming year, for the year that we are now in. And we're going to hear some more from different members, and we are also going to really seek your feedback. So I'm going to go ahead and start some music. And I would like to thank both Ellen Ward as well as the Farleys, Pam and Joe Farley, for connecting us with Austin Classical Guitar. They gave us a lovely program here recently, and I do look forward to many other collaborations with them. So I will play this, but like I said, feel free to grab a quick snack and enjoy this music, and we'll get started again in about the next 5 minutes or so.
Okay, I'm gonna have I got my coffee.
I think each of us has a dream of a place to call home, a place we belong to. Some might find it in being with their beloved ones, some in a beautiful landscape in nature. But this last year showed how humans are close to each other and how these challenging times might have made us feel homesick. I hope this music connects us together and brings us a sense of being home to wonderful days.
All right, thanks everyone. Thank you for your patience. And we will get back into a few things here momentarily. Can everyone hear me all right? All right, I will assume so. I'm just responding to a couple of things here. And appreciate all of you staying with us. So please do just give me just another moment, and I'm going to load some of the results from our membership survey. And then we're going to hear from Scott Bleck about some additional plans for 2021. The board had recently met and gone through an exercise that our group does annually to provide some leadership and guidance for the year to come. And we're going to have some time to go over that, as well as some information about specific activities in 2021. And again, some time to hear from each of you, hopefully, about the vision and a way forward for Capital City Village. So give me just a little bit of a moment here to get organized on this side of things, and I will pull up information about our membership survey. So I did want to thank you all for those of you that did participate and did fill out the recent survey. If you still would like to contribute your responses, please just contact me and let me know. We can provide a link, or we can send you a hard copy of the survey if you would like. So this is just a little bit of highlights from the survey results. And again, thank you to those of you who have already completed that. And I will go through here a little bit. Wanted to just spend a little bit of time on this. One of the first questions we asked was, how long have you been a member of Capital City Village? And you can see from the results that a little bit more than half, or right at about half, had been members. And this is, again, responses to the survey, not the entire membership. But for those that responded, about half had been with Capital City Village for 5 or more years. So this, again, in our 10th year, shows that once people do get involved and engaged with Capital City Village, typically they stay involved. A smaller subset had been involved with Capital City Village for more than a year. Still another group in the last 6 months to a year, and then a few newcomers as well. So there's some information there. Some of the other things that we checked in with folks about: what originally attracted you to Capital City Village? And we had these answers organized in a couple of different ways. And again, we can provide more of this information if you want to see the actual details of this, but these are just kind of hitting the high points. For the most part, people responded that they wanted to be part of a vibrant community. They wanted to participate in social or educational programs, and that although they may not need services currently, they did want to be involved. And they also recognized that other people might need support and services, and that they wanted to be a part of an organization that does that, and part of an organization where people have the opportunity to support each other. They wanted the opportunity to meet interesting people and to be involved in engaging programs. So although we do focus a lot on the important services that we provide, the social engagement piece is really critical. And I think the results from the survey really do underscore that social opportunity, the avoidance of isolation, the ability to connect with others in meaningful ways, and really stay engaged through programs that are stimulating. That's really, really where the strength of the organization does lay. Let's see, so the impact. So generally speaking, we asked people what the result of their membership with Capital City Village had meant for them, that they developed relationships and friendships through their exposure to the village, that they felt that their quality of life had improved, that many of them had utilized supportive services. But again, much of that importance, much of that impact on the individuals was really that social emotional piece. Become an active and engaged member of the community, felt less isolated. These are all things that stood out as really important to the people that responded. Moving on, we actually had really great ratings as far as satisfaction with membership. So most of the people told us they were really very, very satisfied with their membership in Capital City Village. A smaller subset said satisfied, so we're doing well. And clearly there are some areas for improvement, and that's a lot of what we want to hear from you in the second portion of this program. So please do think of some notes. You can jot them in the chat section if you want. You can send some follow-up email to us if you'd like to say something privately or drop us a note. You can send that to info@capitalcityvillage.org. But all in all, I think that most of the people indicated they were very satisfied in what they were getting out of Capital City Village. So here are a few questions about program participation. How often do you participate? So fortunately, again, we've got very good numbers here. Always or as frequently as I can. More than 1/5 of respondents said that they did try to participate in programs as frequently as possible. Often was the greatest percentage of response. More than 1/3 of the people that responded said that they tried to participate often. And this would be everything from the interest groups, the social gatherings like coffee and happy hour, as well as the informational presentations and seminars. Let's see. Also, we asked about how we're communicating with our village, with our group of folks. So the newsletter remains our single best vehicle for reaching out to people and keeping them informed about what we're doing and also the connections that we hear about in the community. So how often are people reading the newsletter? Some people, about half, responded that they always read the newsletter, and that's fantastic. We really want you to read the newsletters that come out on the 1st and 16th of every month. Please look for them in your inbox. If you have some suggestions about content, please let us know. Email us at info@. Please give us some feedback and let us know that we're getting you the information you need to have. About 20% said often, they read the newsletter often. And that's a really good indication. We also had some information that when people do read it, they find that they're getting good information about the programs that we offer, and they read it as thoroughly as possible. Would you recommend the village to others? The vast majority of the people that responded said absolutely yes. I would wholeheartedly relay information about Capital City Village and what they do to my friends and neighbors. So that is a really good indication that the people that are involved with Capital City Village are really making the most of that and getting out of their membership what they need to get. How does the cost of your membership compare with the value? So again, about half said the membership is worth more than I pay. And I think that that's an indication that it is a really, it's a great deal. So not only do we offer some really fantastic programs, some incredible supportive services through our volunteers, but again, there's real high value in what we're offering. And then about a little over 2/3 said, I pay the same amount I think the membership is worth. And then there were a few that said the membership is worth less than the amount I pay. So that's really something that we want to hear feedback on. If that is a concern of yours or a consideration, please let us know how we can increase the value of membership for you. And also just a reminder too, I hope that you all know that we do offer the sliding scale of membership. So if you know of a senior in your community or your neighborhood that may live on modest income or support, please, let's have a conversation about that. We don't want financial circumstance to be a restriction for membership and participation for anyone. Let's see, those were the highlights. I did want to share a little bit of information too about some of the specific comments that we got and just let you know about those. And then I'm going to turn it back over to Scott, and I will hold the slides up for him, but I do want to give him the reins in just a moment. I did want to bring out just a couple of really key comments that we got from people. And several of those include that regarding quality of life, that the relationships developed in the village were really key, that the ability to participate in interest groups and social activities was really key. Time and again, volunteer help and help from staff was repeatedly recognized as something that helped quality of life. Our Volunteer of the Year, Rick Cloud, was specifically noted in the responses. Rick for tech, and also the buddy calls were really important. And then as far as additional feedback on what folks would be interested in seeing from Capital City Village, more virtual connections, member stories. They really appreciated the buddy program. They would like to see more opportunities for exercise. A few of these other things come under program ideas. And at the end of this session, we're going to break down feedback and suggestions from this group into areas where each committee on the Capital City Village leadership can then take that information and respond. So exercise, home tours, speakers, live music, more interest groups focused around travel, language, hiking, around the town tours, things of geographical interest, more neighborhood connections, and also opportunities for stress reduction. So that may come under some new programs and activities that we can consider. So again, these were some of the things that really came and stuck out for us. I did want to, one comment here that really stands out too is that we're looking for exciting opportunities to rejuvenate Capital City Village when we no longer have COVID restrictions. So as we know that those are going to be in place for at least a little while longer, we are going to maintain all of our programs virtually, at least for the next, say, halfway through this year. We'll reassess and see when it's safe to gather and how to do that. But again, the safety and security and happiness of our membership is really the most important thing to us right now. So what I'm going to do now is turn it over to Scott Bleck. Now, I do have some slides that I'm going to pull up, and Scott, I will leave you to walk us through those, but I'll go ahead and thumb through those to make sure that we've got some information ready for folks to take a look at.
Thank you, Tommy. We're going to just go briefly through 5 goals that were actually set by the board a year ago, and due to the pandemic, a lot of our goals were difficult to reach, and earlier this year the board met and refined the plan and looked at these goals and the action plans associated with it. So I'm just going to go over the 5 goals here and make a couple of comments about each one, and so we can move along, because I know the most boring thing in the world is to look through a strategic plan in detail. If anyone who's not on the board is interested in seeing more about this or get a copy, or please contact myself or Tommy. The first goal is in the area of membership, which of course is what keeps us going. We're here to serve you, and if we don't grow membership though, the organization becomes stagnant and we can't maintain our services. So the first goal is to increase net membership by 10% a year. By net, we're talking about taking into account members we lose. Some people drop out because of change in living situations or moving on. And unfortunately, we also have a couple members like last year who passed away. So we're talking about probably bringing in about 20 to 24 new members in order to reach this goal. And we're shortly going to have a little skit by the Hoffmans and yours truly to talk about the way we're going to try to implement that goal. The second goal is to improve member retention by 10%. By retention means what percentage of the current members sign up for the following year. And this varies from year to year. Last year, it's probably a tougher one because of the conditions. And unfortunately, some people either chose not to participate in our online Zoom meetings or were not able to figure it out. And we lost a few members. And so the member retention one, a lot of that is going to be probably the Member Services Committee that's currently chaired by Sue Hoffman, looking at the survey results and looking at what you have said you want that we might not be currently offering to try to broaden our appeal to the current membership. Let's go on to the next one. Third goal is volunteers, which Johanna spoke about quite well earlier, in which Rick and many of you, Arnie and a lot of you who are on this meeting have done a great job of helping members to medical appointments, to fix things at their homes in other ways. We also have a group of younger people who have been involved in volunteers. So volunteers are some of our members and some are not. But the goal here is to increase the number of volunteers by 10% a year. And one of the things that's in place is a plan to develop a new member orientation that's going to have a segment about volunteering in it. So new members will have an understanding of what the volunteers do and hopefully be interested in participating in that. Now moving on to the next area, which are programs. Rick Cloud and his program committee, I think, have done an excellent job, particularly with the switch to Zoom meetings. And as Bonnie pointed out, we've had an incredible number of people participate who aren't members by just the fact that it's easy to get on a Zoom call from anywhere. And been working to come up with varied programs in the area of health, education, and socialization. I know that one of the things in the plan is to look at possibility more technical training, and the committee will also be looking at the member survey results to come up with programs in some of the areas that were identified that Tommy highlighted previously in the meeting. And the final area, which some of you probably shy away from, but is critical for our growth, is fundraising. We, as Tommy mentioned, next week we've got Amplify Austin coming up. Later in the year, we have a golf tournament and the Keep Aging Weird luncheon. Those are our key fundraisers. And we also get fundraising from the sponsors we get from some of these programs. Many of you have brought in a lot of sponsors. Saw James Boyce was on this call. He's been very vital, certainly, at bringing in sponsors for the golf tournament, for example. So one of our goals is to increase fundraising by 10% per year. The program committee is also going to be looking at developing a estate planning program to be held annually to let people know that there's ways to even give money to Capital City through your estate planning, as was done by 2 members last year. So those are the highlights of the 5 goal areas of the board. I'm now going to call on my sidekicks, Sue and Mart Hoffman, to talk about our membership challenge for the year. Mart, take it away.
Thank you, Scott. Scott, Sue, and I are the newly anointed community outreach players, and we have developed a very sophisticated skit for you today, and the title is A Village for All. As mentioned earlier in the meeting by Scott, the board of directors have developed several key goals this year. One key goal is to, as you just heard, is to increase CCV membership by 10%. To reach this goal, as noted just a few minutes ago, that means about 2 new members a month. As we know, most of our members are recruited by one-to-one contact and word of mouth. The Community Outreach Committee would like to challenge all CC members and volunteers to accept this task of recruiting at least 1 new member this year. In other words, we like to see this important goal be an all play. That goes back to our title, Snappy, A Village for All, for every CV member and volunteer. In order to make this a fun as well as a challenging task, Sue, Scott, and I will be hosting monthly gourmet luncheons to thank CCV recruiters and new members. Now, because of COVID, if we cannot meet in our home or another home, we will make personal deliveries to your domain, and it will be individualized to taste and preference. As you know, or you may or may not know, but as I know, Sue and her friends are creative chefs. So Sue, take it away.
Yes, our luncheons will feature selected entrees of meat, poultry, fish, and vegetarian specialties. The sides will include fresh salads, selected vegetables, and of course, freshly baked baguettes or rolls.
There's an example.
I wouldn't let him eat it for lunch. We have to have it for dinner.
Scott.
We also will feature a fine red or white wine served at your pleasure, or sparkling waters or juice. Don't forget, all the lunches can be delivered to your home safely.
And I have been known to cook a very tasty and enticing pecan pie. And also at Sue's urging, if you want another flavor, we can come up with that also.
Y'all are cruel.
And if you really behave, you get vanilla ice cream with whatever pie you choose. Okay, as usual, the real fun is in the conversation with you, even over the wires. So let's all put on our recruitment hats or our aprons Sue has, and I think Scott has a cloth on his arm to bring the wine forward. Very good, Scott. And to help CCV reach its goal of 2 members per month. In advance, thanks for your interest and help, Mark, Sue, and Scott, and I'm sure you will want us back for further theatrics. Thank you so much.
Don't bet on it.
No wine for you, Brooks.
Don't quit your day job.
All right, well, thank you so much, everyone. And yes, if you will accept the challenge, we, as much as we all enjoy Capital City Village, we really want to make sure that it's available for others. So if you know of a friend or a neighbor, somebody in Austin, and again, that's our service area, please let them know about what we're up to, and please do try to help bring in some new people into our village and into our community, because we really want to spread the love and do more of what we do for others. So I wanted to give this as a chance to hear back from all of you. So if you would, what I'd like to do is go through some suggestions. And if you'd like to, again, there are a couple of options. So you can either put your suggestions, your comments, your ideas, your questions in the chat section. There's a little icon that says chat down at the bottom. So click on that and you can post that to all of us, or you can send it to me specifically. Please do let us know. You can also, if you want to use the reactions button at the bottom, you can choose to raise your hand and be called on. And again, there's a lot of people on the call, so I'll need time to scan and look for folks. But what I'd like to do first is go through, we have several standing committees through the leadership of Capital City Village. So I'd like to go by committee and just see if you do have some ideas, and then we're going to open it up for all sorts of things and all sorts of ideas. So first of all, I'd like to start with marketing and development. So if you have some ideas about how Capital City Village can send our message out, get it out to the community, the marketing and development, the brand, if you will, of Capital City Village. If you have some ideas, again, please put those in the chat section, and that will go back to our marketing and development committee to help with their plans and their actions for the rest of the year. Or if you'd like to take, we'll just kind of scan again here quickly. If you'd like to raise your hand or wave at me, I'll scan through really quickly. And we'd like to hear from you first on the topic of the marketing and development committee. All right, so I see something in that section. A PSA ad in impact. I assume that means community impact. Thank you, Rick. So noted, and all of these notes in the chat will be saved. Does anybody else have any information that they would like to add, again, with regard to marketing and development? I'm just going to scan here quickly. Anybody's hands up? If you have an idea that occurs to you after we wrap up, please just send it to info@ or call the office and let us know. Post brochure at Starbucks all over town. Another good suggestion. All right, thank you, folks. Anybody else? A raise hand or a wave if you have any comments about marketing and development. Okay, so next we're going to go on to programs. So, let's see, marketing, get interviewed on KU. Well, that's a good thing. We've done that before and it really did help. And wonderfully enough, in fact, one of the KUTX DJs who's sort of on leave right now, but he is a member that came to us in 2020. So not all of you know that John Ailey is also a participating member of Capital City Village. So maybe we have a special in at KUT or KUT. All right, so those are all good information, all good tips on marketing and development. Next on programs. If you have some suggestions that you'd like to add in the chat section under the programs that we do, we can take those back to the program committee. Our very esteemed Rick Cloud is the chair of that committee and Barbara Gamble his co-chair. So please add anything to the chat that you would like. And Rick reminds everyone, take an opportunity to join a committee. Your work can really, really help inform our actions if you're participating in a committee. All right, and anybody wants to either raise their hand using the reaction icon or just wave? Okay, anything else with programs? All right. If you do think of other things, please do chime in.
That looks beautiful, Winter.
Really want feedback. Really kind of live and breathe the whole.
We can always use more people with great ideas for KAW with a fundraiser.
Exactly, and that's a great point, Kay. We also do have committees that are not necessarily standing committees, but very active committees, including the planning group for Keep Aging Weird. Again, that'll come up in November on the 10th, as well as our golf. There's an activity that you're interested in specifically and would like to support us. That's another great way to get involved. All right, I'm going to move on. Next, we have finance. Finance is headed by Tom Knutson, who is dialed in today from Ohio. And so again, this is an opportunity where you can help inform the leadership and the sort of the due diligence that goes into watching the funding and the structure of how we take care of our programs and services, how we make sure that our revenue helps support our mission and our activities. So if you are interested in participating in the Finance Committee, or if you have ideas for the Finance Committee that you would like to put in the chat section, or that you would like to raise your hand and let us know.
We sure would like another volunteer member for the Finance Committee, somebody who's astute about, you don't even have to be astute about managing money. It's just
Peter
good to
raised
have
his
a
hand.
set of ideas.
Peter raised his hand.
Oh, sorry, Peter, go ahead.
Hi, great meeting. And two things with respect to money. I see that you got what you called a federal grant. Hopefully, having opened that door, there's potential to develop that more. And the second thing is, during this year, the people who owned Amazon, the husband and wife had separated, and the wife's mission is to get rid of $14 billion, and she gave a significant chunk to Meals on Wheels in Austin. If somebody could connect, they got $1 million plus, no questions asked. Hey, you have a great structure. We like what you're doing. Here's $1 million. If somebody knew somebody in Meals on Wheels, and see if there's a contact with that lady.
Elon Musk's foundation moved here also.
Let's go through my comment.
And then somebody else, another board member mentioned to me that apparently Matthew McConaughey has a foundation I wasn't aware of. So there are some opportunities for maybe some additional local money that is very much very significant. I appreciate also we got in the chat section, it looks like Lori Brown has volunteered for the Finance Committee. Thank you, Lori. And then also some information about trying to do some programs with Dell Jewish Community Center again. In fact, I got an email just, I think on Friday from their Rachel Wimberly, their contact. So good timing there. We are looking at some additional opportunities for there. Let's see. And then Ellen, thank you for your offer of help with some grants. Let's see, I think we're getting some more comments in there. Thank you for all of that. We're going to move on to membership services. Membership Services is the committee chaired currently by Sue Hoffman. She's taken very good care of that, as well as very good care of it. Sue, you want to say just a word about what that committee is up to and what you might, what sort of feedback, information, or participation you might like to see?
Yes, thank you. We have members of our committee all over the city of Austin, and our goal is to welcome all new members and to help them become involved at the level that they would like to. We could use a few new members as well, but we are going strong. And so if you come on to our committee, we'll have fun. And while we cannot right now deliver a fresh pastry or bread when you're a member, we can do a lot to welcome you over the phone and over the Zoom and over the mail. So join our committee.
Excellent. So if you have suggestions or are interested in participating in that committee, please let us know. I'm scanning the chat as well as the little tiles to see if you have any other comments.
Johanna has her hand up.
Oh, go ahead, please. Go right ahead.
I just wanted to talk about the Membership Services Committee because I do have a lot of interaction with that committee in particular. Just wanted to congratulate them. They were the beginnings of what we are calling now the Village Buddy system. And since COVID, they've delivered, with help of others throughout the village, over 770 buddy calls.
Impressive. Goodness. All right, thank you so much. And we really do feel like that communication, that outreach, and that touch with folks has been really critical, especially this last year. So again, if you have some ideas about how we can improve that, how we can do more good in the community, please do let us know. I'm going to move now to outreach, the outreach committee. It does look like in the chat section, Rose and Ronald, thank you for chiming in. It does sound like outreach to social workers and people working directly with seniors. That is a great way to get in touch with people and let them know what we do so that they can share that information with their clients. That's a great suggestion. So again, outreach, not so much sort of the general messaging about what Capital City Village is or does, but again, directly connecting with individuals and groups where we can to really bolster recruitment. So outreach committee is really looking at trying to build information with members that are prospects that might be interested in membership and volunteering. It's also the committee that really focuses on helping us build partnerships. So we're looking for additional ways to collaborate with other groups, other nonprofits in the Austin community. So if you have some ideas, some suggestions, let's see, anything else? Home health.
Mike?
Absolutely, home health. Looks like Jenny, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's, I think there's overlap because we're talking about those same things in marketing and development. And I know I gave Tom a bunch of resources to contact in terms of home health and geriatric social work agencies. So somehow, however that happens, we need to be sure we're not doing the same thing simultaneously. So anyway.
Excellent. Good thought. Yeah, there. And Mark, go ahead.
This is kind of became a semi-outreach project this year, is the golf tournament, which we will be, hopefully, as Tommy said, hell or high water scheduling with Riverside in October. But it has been a multi-generational event, which was one of the things we aimed for this year. Our key sponsor is Tarrytown United Methodist Church, and that's helped us with the community. I think this year we're probably, because we think we can do it well, looking for 24 foursomes or 36 hole sponsors. So you can either play or be a hole sponsor. I mean, we're giving you choices to support the village and also have a very good time.
You understand that?
Excellent. All right, then. Okay, so any other thoughts as far as outreach, partnership building, other groups, other entities? Please let us know. Again, you can put that in the.
See who's on here.
If you think of something after the fact, please do email us or call. I would like to say that it's been just an incredible year, even though we haven't grown as much as we expected to in 2020. I think we weathered the storm really incredibly well. And that's a real testament to this organization and the people in it. And then I wanted to, again, just remind you, if you have some feedback, we really want to hear from you. So please do feel free to call or email.
Carson Havers on it.
Getting involved. I think, Ellen, you wanted to chime in. Go ahead.
I have a question. You at one point had mentioned that some of the other city villages wanted to connect with us, some like Seattle.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because, in fact, we have invited a couple of them to join us for happy hour this Thursday. So this would be a great way for y'all, if you're interested, to meet some people both from Houston. There's a group from Seattle that has been invited. And so we are really looking to try to connect with other villages. And we are also trying to focus on connecting with our other Texas villages. There's some real interest in making sure that we're aware of what's going on elsewhere in the state. So this Thursday at happy hour, we'll hopefully kick off some really good conversations. And Ellen, you're right. We really want to hear from other folks and find out what they're doing in their backyards. Rick?
We had a couple of people for coffee, was it coffee or happy hour a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
Upstate New York. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I love opportunities like that because it's a chance for us to hear what people are trying elsewhere, what kind of activities they're up to, and what kind of people, why they get villages started and how they keep them going, and the different people that are involved. So yes, we are trying to make those connections, and if you're curious about them, this Thursday would be a great way to get involved.
Please charge battery. Please charge battery. Please charge.
Any other comments? All right, I'm going to turn it back over to Scott. If you have some other things to direct us with, Scott. I do have a fun thing that I wanted for those of you, please do stay on with us. I wanted to share a fun thing as we close out. So, but I'm gonna let Scott take it away here for a bit. And then if I need to, I'll jump back in.
Sam Williams, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir, Sam, go ahead.
Okay. How about the coronavirus vaccine? Do y'all get any word on that through the Capital City Village?
That's a great question. And we do get some. Whatever we have, we try to make sure that we have it featured in our newsletter. Bonnie, feel free to jump in if you have any new information on it. And then, of course, our go-to as far as in the village is Dr. McCourse as far as questions about what's going on. And then we do try to pay attention to what's going on with Austin Public Health. So we're trying to get updates shared through the newsletter as often as possible. And anybody else can jump in if they know of something else going on currently. Go ahead, Mark, but you're muted.
The problem is that mostly is that as soon as the word is disseminated, that source is dried up.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll continue to make available, but in reality, there's just not enough vaccine. And so, again, as I've already said, the real problem is by the time I share with you what I know, that site is already oversubscribed.
Sam, are you having trouble finding a vaccine?
Getting what?
Have you had trouble getting vaccinated?
Well, all we've done is gone to Austin Public Health and signed in, and I found out that's not you just don't do it one time.
No.
You keep hounding it.
Right. So the other day I heard on NPR there's a website called covidvaccine.org, and you type in your zip code and it will tell you where vaccines are available. I wasn't sure how well that would work, but I suggested it to my younger sister here in Columbus. And Friday, her son, she can't do the work, but her son got an appointment for this coming Monday for her first vaccine, and got an appointment for follow-up a month later.
Well, we call our Randall's Pharmacy, we call CVS, and they say no, they don't have it.
No, that's my point.
Sam and sorry, Tom, this will be in our newsletter that goes out tomorrow. It's another new website where that was put out by GoodRx.
Okay.
And you put in your phone number and your zip code, and they'll notify you when vaccine appointments are available near you.
Okay,
I'm gonna have the link to this in tomorrow's newsletter.
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Sam-
I understand that if
Peter
you,
Brady here. I've been active in the last several weeks. And my focus has been on APH, Austin Public Health. We had a caregiver who couldn't come because of the danger, but so I'm tracking things carefully. And the first thing, I was able to change my qualifications. They weren't reflected in the questionnaire, so I was able to get a better category. But of immediate interest to you is in the last week, they have significantly improved their information. That caregiver I'm talking about, she's now on a list, and she was able to see on Thursday, hey, you are number 700 in the line. And then a day later, she got one, hey, we just missed you. Come back next Tuesday at the following time. And so they're getting much better at communication. So hang in there with APH and other places.
They're only posting appointments on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And it appears not necessarily early in the day. Like last Thursday, they didn't post them till 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
But what they're doing now is they're starting to give specific information to people. They're improving significantly in the last week.
Right. I got on the other night for someone and I was number 6,000 out of, and there weren't that many vaccines available, but it did count down and I got in to make the appointment. You have to sit there and watch it count down, then you only have 10 minutes to make the appointment.
so you gotta stay on top of it, what you're saying.
Yeah, you really do. You really have to. That's
Yeah,
what.
question from.
This is Carol. I want to say something very quickly. I don't know why, but last Saturday I got a phone call from a volunteer in the mayor's office wanting to know if I was all right. Luckily, I'm one of those people that has had both of my vaccines, but I asked for other people that were having problems, and people that asked me, I have this phone number that they are giving out from Austin Public Health. I don't know if everyone has it or needs it, or if Bonnie wants to put it in the newsletter saying that you can call this number if you're having trouble getting on or having trouble with the website or anything. Then
The people that I know tried, it's either busy or it doesn't answer.
Well,
There's also a question that came up in the chat about whether it would be available at Austin.
You put in the chat, HEB is supposed to be.
Do you know anything about that?
It was already on there.
Okay.
Somebody else.
Okay,
put it on.
good.
Tom?
On the course, do you know if there's been any talk about it being available at Austin pharmacies?
Well, it's already available at a couple of them, but out on the periphery. So that's a coming event. With the Johnson & Johnson coming online, that'll just give us a larger supply. So I think what's already been said is appropriate there to give you a couple of hints, but it's just persistence and good luck.
It is. Yeah.
I have a question.
And everybody, I know you do, but please wear your mask at least until September 1st.
Mhm. I've heard that they're going to have a big hub now at the Circuit of the Americas.
A drive-up hub.
Place for some older people to get to.
But I think just be aware, read the newsletter tomorrow, and then we can have some more discussion.
But
I'm just rather sensitive that people have told me I look so much better with a mask. Please keep wearing it.
all right, great, thank you. So that is one of the reasons we have these kind of gatherings so that we can share information. It's a real resource to have supporters in the village to help us with this. So I'm going to post another reminder in the chat. If you support the spirit of what we do and the actions that we follow through on and the support that we offer each other, please consider an Amplify Austin donation to Capital City Village. I'm putting a link in the chat section for how to do that. So Scott, I wanted to give you a chance to round us out, and I'll leave it to you.
Thanks, Tommy. I want to thank everyone for participating in the meeting today. Also welcome out to Jerry Gibson, who is a former member who rejoined this week, and she was on the call earlier. I'm not sure if she still is. Very welcome. Welcome back to CCV. And shout out to Rick Cloud for wearing many hats and being our volunteer of the year. And remember, this week, March 4th and 5th, Amplify Austin. Hope you'll keep Capital City Village in mind. And we look forward to seeing you all next week at a coffee and virtual happy hour and the programs that are coming up. Wish everyone stay safe. And Tommy, I think you had something last for us and
I do. So thank you.
close the meeting.
If you have any problem with the Amplify Austin website, you can donate through our website.
That's true. And if you don't like using the online transactions, if you prefer to send something to the office, you can do that too. If you have any questions or if you hit any obstacles, I'd be happy to help. So for those of you, thank you so much for staying with us. I do want to just give one last little bit of levity. So again, for those of you that had a rough year this last year, and I know that we all did to some degree, just think about how you would talk to your 2020 January self. Think about what you would explain and how you might try to let them know about what was coming if you had the opportunity to go back and talk to yourself and let yourself know about what was going on. So I'm going to share what I think is a pretty funny little 4-minute YouTube video. So please just hang on for a second. There are several others of these. So if you're curious, I'll put the links in the chat. But I thought this pretty much summed up the way we would try to make sense of it retrospectively.
Oh, whoa. Who are you? I'm Julie from 4 Months in the Future. Actually? Are you here to tell me what's going to happen? Yeah. I mean, because of the butterfly effect, I can only really give you some loose details, but we'll go through the basics. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, do you want the good news or the bad news? Good news? Yeah, great choice. Yeah, cool. So, things have never been better for climate change. Oh, that's great. Dolphins in the Venice canals. Really? I know. Well, I mean, I saw it on Facebook. I don't know if it's a real thing. My aunt posted it, but it seems pretty legit. Okay, well, that's incredible. You know, especially given the Australian wildfires. The what? Oh, yeah. Because, I mean, those are pretty, I think those are going to be the defining feature of 2020. Yeah, you'd think. Oh, no? Not even a little bit. Really? Because they're a pretty big deal. Yeah, your definition of a pretty big deal is going to change, for sure. Oh. Okay, so what is the bad news then? You are going to want to pull all your investments. What? Yeah, get everything out of the stock market. It's a recession. You know what? Put a little money in Zoom. Isn't that a conferencing app? Yes, trust me. Okay, while we're being proactive here, actually, if you could just do a Costco run real quick, it's gonna save you a lot of hassle. Costco. Do you have any hobbies? You know, just something to keep you busy. Not really. You should get a dog. I want a dog. You know I want a dog. They're a lot of work, and you've got to walk. You got to go inside with them today. Right. The walks are going to be clutch. Right. But I mean, I have to leave them because I have so much travel coming up. No, you don't. Yeah, I travel for work. Oh, you won't be working. But how do I afford stuff? Do you take vitamins or juice?
You understand what's going on?
Maybe a good time to just
In here.
get that body in tip-top shape. Get strong. Get those lungs a pumping. You know, cardio, little aerobics. How is gonna happen? Look, I know it all sounds scary, but it's really not that bad. You know. But for you, it's really not.
Call from toll-free call.
On the couch. Watching Netflix. Couch? What do you know about the world of big cats?
Like that.
Something to enjoy. So I hope that was all right for you. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. Really appreciate your time and attention, and really appreciate your ideas and your feedback. So please do stay in touch with us. Let us know if there are some other good ideas that we can bring to Capital City. And thank you so much. I hope everyone stays safe. Thank you. And kudos to Rick, our volunteer of the year.
Well deserved.
Hey, Rick.
Everybody.
Take care, everyone.
See y'all.
Bye.
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 See you Thursday.
See you Thursday.
Thursday, Amplify Austin Day.
Bye. Bye, Sam.
Bye, Sam.
Bye.
Take care. Bye, Beth.
Bye,
Bye,
Beth.
Beth.
Bye.
Take care.